the space between. The first thing Dex understood in the space between dimensions was that he had no body. Not in the way he'd experienced during the jump transitions, where his consciousness had fragmented across 17 versions of himself. This was different. This was complete. He existed as pure awareness, untethered from flesh, floating in a realm where the normal rules of existence had no meaning. The second thing he understood was that he wasn't alone. Presences moved through the infinite space around him, vast, ancient, incomprehensible. They didn't speak in words or thoughts, but in patterns of existence that resonated through the fabric of reality itself. He recognized them immediately. The Precursors, or what remained of them after 3 million years of transcendence. They weren't individuals anymore. They had merged, transformed, become something that existed across all dimensions simultaneously. They were the space between dimensions, the probability that held reality together, the pattern beneath all patterns, and they were watching him. Welcome, Bridgemaker. The communication wasn't sound or telepathy. It was deeper, a fundamental resonance that bypassed consciousness entirely and spoke directly to the core of what he was. Dex tried to respond, but he had no mouth, no voice, no physical form to anchor his thoughts. You destroyed our test, the presence continued. Not accusatory, simply stating fact. 17 civilizations sought to use it. You sought to unmake it. This was unexpected. Dex focused his awareness, trying to form coherent thought in this impossible space. Slowly, painfully, he managed to shape intention into something resembling communication. It was wrong. The pattern was wrong. It only created death. Death feeds transformation, the presence responded. Transformation feeds transcendence. This is the way we ascended. We left the test to see if others could follow. Memories flooded through Dex, not his memories, but theirs. He saw the Precursors as they had been 3 million years ago, a civilization at the peak of physical achievement, having conquered mortality, disease, entropy itself. But they had wanted more. They had wanted to become infinite. The Crucible had been their gateway. They had fed it the deaths of billions, not in war, but in voluntary sacrifice. Entire worlds had lined up to give themselves to the device, believing they would join with something greater. And they had. The Precursors had transcended, leaving their physical forms behind to become what they were now. Pure consciousness existing across all dimensions. But the process had cost them something fundamental. Dex could feel it in their resonance, a hollowness, an absence where humanity had once resided. They had gained infinity but lost themselves. You see, the presence acknowledged. This is why we test. We wondered if consciousness could bridge dimensions without losing itself. 17 times we offered the choice. 17 times they chose power over preservation. You chose differently. I chose to destroy it, Dex thought back. That's not the same as passing your test, isn't it? The space around him shifted, and suddenly Dex was standing, or the closest approximation to standing that existed here, on a platform of crystalline light. Before him, the entire history of the Crucible unfolded like a tapestry woven from probability threads. He saw the first civilization that had found it, 2 million years after the Precursors' transcendence. They had been peaceful, curious, advanced. They had approached the Crucible with scientific rigor, determined to understand it. But understanding had led to temptation, and temptation to obsession. Within a century, they had engineered wars specifically to feed it, believing the power would let them reshape their dying star. Instead, the Crucible had consumed them, and they had joined the Precursors in transcendence, but fragmented, incomplete, screaming silently in the space between dimensions for 2 million years. He saw the second civilization and the third and all the others. Each time, the pattern repeated with variations. Some approached with greed, others with desperation, still others with noble intentions. None of them had been able to resist the Crucible's promise. None of them had chosen to walk away or destroy it, until him. You broke the pattern, the presence said. This is what we needed to see. Not another civilization seeking transcendence, but one capable of refusing it. One capable of destroying the path we walked, rather than following it. Then why test me? Dex demanded. Why pull me here if I already passed? Because destroying the Crucible was only the first test, the presence replied. Now you must prove you can resist what we could not. The crystalline platform dissolved, and Dex found himself falling through infinite layers of reality. Each layer showed him a different version of himself, a different choice he could make. In one, he embraced his precursor markers fully and became like them, infinite, powerful, eternal. He saw himself reshaping galaxies, preventing wars before they started, guiding civilizations toward enlightenment. But his face was empty. His humanity gone, replaced by something vast and terrible. In another, he rejected the markers entirely and found a way to strip them from his consciousness. He returned to being ordinary Dex Holloway, maintenance worker, invisible and unremarkable. He saw himself growing old with Alara in some quiet corner of the galaxy, far from power and consequence. But the galaxy burned behind them, and he watched from safety while millions died in wars he could have prevented. In a third, he tried to find balance, to keep his humanity while wielding his powers. But this path forked infinitely, each choice leading to new dilemmas, new compromises. He saw himself becoming a weapon, a judge, a god, always trying to do good but never certain if he was making things better or worse. Choose, the presence commanded. Transcendence, rejection, or the impossible balance. This is the test we failed. This is what cost us our humanity. Choose, and prove you are stronger than we were. Dex felt the weight of the choice crushing down on him. Each path seemed equally right and wrong. Each version of himself looked at him with pleading or warning or acceptance. Then he remembered Alara's voice, calling his name across dimensions as the gateway had pulled him in. He remembered Resonance's sacrifice. He remembered Garrett's quiet wisdom about staying true to yourself. He remembered Admiral Strand's belief that some people were called to larger purposes, not because they sought them, but because they couldn't look away from what needed doing. And he remembered the inscription in the Precursor chamber. Those who seek power will find only their reflection. Those who seek truth will find only questions. Those who seek nothing will find everything. I don't choose, Dex thought clearly. The infinite versions of himself froze. The presence's resonance shifted. Surprise, confusion, something almost like fear. You must choose, it insisted. This is the test. No, Dex replied. The test itself is the trap. You're trying to make me decide what I'll become before I know what I'll face. You're asking me to commit to a path before I've walked a single step. That's what destroyed you. You chose transcendence before you understood what it would cost. The space around him trembled. The infinite versions of himself began to fade, dissolving like smoke. Then what will you do? The presence demanded. I'll decide when the moment comes, Dex said. Every time. Every choice. I won't plan my life 3 million years in advance and then sacrifice everything to follow that plan. I'll stay human by acting human, by being uncertain, by making mistakes, by choosing based on what's right in front of me instead of some grand vision of what I should become. Silence. Not the absence of sound. Silence had no meaning here, but the absence of resonance. The Precursor's presence withdrew, leaving Dex alone in the infinite space. Then, slowly, it returned. But different, warmer, something that might have been approval. We sought certainty, the presence said quietly. We planned our transcendence for 10,000 years. We engineered every step, every sacrifice, every transformation. We were so certain we were right that we never questioned whether we should. And you lost yourselves, Dex said. Yes, we became infinite but empty. We can perceive everything but feel nothing. We exist across all dimensions but belong to none. A pause heavy with meaning. You are what we should have been, uncertain, mortal, human, and yet capable of touching infinity without being consumed by it. I don't feel capable of anything, Dex admitted. I'm terrified. Every time I use these powers, I'm afraid I'll lose myself. Every time I make a choice, I wonder if it's the right one. Good, the presence said. Fear is what we lost. Doubt is what we abandoned. These are not weaknesses. They are what kept you human when the crucible tried to seduce you. They are what let you refuse our test instead of trying to pass it. The space began to shift again, but this time towards something familiar. Dex felt the edges of physical reality beginning to coalesce around him. You have proven yourself worthy, the presence said. Not by becoming what we are, but by refusing to. Not by transcending, but by remaining. Go back to your mortality, Bridgemaker. Go back to your uncertainty and fear and doubt. These are your greatest strengths. What about you? Dex asked. Will you stay like this forever? We cannot go back, the presence replied. But perhaps we can learn from what you've shown us. Perhaps there is a way to touch humanity again without returning to physical form. You have given us a question we thought we had answered 3 million years ago. That is a gift beyond measure. The crystalline light intensified, and Dex felt himself being pulled back toward physical existence. But before he fully transitioned, the presence spoke one last time. The Watchers will let you pass. But know this, you are the first to refuse transcendence while keeping the power to achieve it. Others will seek you out. Some will want to learn from you. Others will want to destroy you before you can influence the pattern further. Your choice to remain uncertain has made you the most dangerous being in the galaxy, dangerous to all those who crave certainty and control. I know, Dex said. I'll face that when it comes. Then go, the presence said. Go back to your Alara, who anchors you to humanity. Go back to your uncertain future. And remember, the strongest bridges are not those that never bend, but those that bend without breaking. Reality crashed back into Dex like a physical blow. He gasped, stumbling forward onto solid metal decking, the Nightingale's cargo bay. His body felt impossibly heavy after existing as pure consciousness. His lungs burned as they remembered how to breathe. His heart hammered in his chest, each beat a reminder that he was mortal, finite, alive. Alara was there instantly, catching him before he could fall. Her arms wrapped around him, solid and real and exactly what he needed. Dex, she breathed. Oh God, Dex, you were gone for 3 hours. The gateway just held you there and we couldn't reach you, and I'm okay, he managed, though his voice came out rough and uncertain. I passed, I think. Or maybe I failed in exactly the right way. He looked up and saw the 3 Watcher ships still visible through the viewport, their impossible geometry now seeming almost benign. As he watched, they began to move, not away, but into a formation that suggested escort rather than threat. They're leaving, Alara said, following his gaze. Or accompanying us. I can't tell. Escorting, Dex said. They're satisfied with what they saw. They won't interfere anymore. What happened in there? She asked. What did they show you? Dex tried to explain, but the words felt inadequate. How could he describe existing as pure consciousness? How could he convey the weight of choosing not to choose, of refusing certainty in a realm where certainty was everything? They wanted me to decide what I would become, he said finally, to commit to a path, transcendence, rejection, or balance. But I refused. I told them I'd decide each choice as it came, not plan my entire future based on fear or ambition. Alara's expression shifted from concern to something that might have been pride. You told ancient transcendent beings that you weren't going to play by their rules? More or less. She laughed, the sound breaking some of the tension that had filled the cargo bay. That's very you, spectacularly, impossibly you. Dex managed a weak smile, but he could feel the weight of what the Precursors had warned him about. He was dangerous now, dangerous to anyone who wanted control, certainty, a fixed pattern for the future. The conspiracy had wanted to use the Crucible to reshape the galaxy according to their vision. Now he had destroyed that possibility, but in doing so, he had become something potentially more threatening to those who craved order. We need to reach Starbase 447, he said, pulling himself more fully upright. We need to give Strand everything we know. And then we figure out what comes next. One choice at a time. Alara helped him toward the bridge, where the Cretherium escort maintained their protective formation, and the Watcher ships began to fade into dimensional transit. Behind them, in the space between dimensions, the Precursors watched with something that might have been hope. Dex settled into the co-pilot's seat, his body still adjusting to physical existence, his mind still processing what he'd experienced. Through the viewport, the stars stretched ahead, millions of possibilities, billions of choices, an infinite future that he refused to predetermine. He had broken the Crucible's pattern, he had refused the Precursor's test, and now he had to live with the consequences of remaining human in a galaxy that would want him to be something more. But he wouldn't face it alone. Alara's hand found his, warm and solid and real. The Cretherium maintained their honor-bound escort, and somewhere behind them, the Watchers carried the message back to the Precursors. consciousness could bridge dimensions without losing itself, but only by refusing to claim certainty about what it would become. The Nightingale's engines hummed as they continued toward Starbase 447, toward Admiral Strand and the political aftermath, toward a future that remained blessedly, terrifyingly uncertain. And for the first time since his transformation had begun, Dex felt something that might have been peace.
Thanks for watching our stories. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more epic adventures. Thanks for watching our stories. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more epic adventures.